You know, when a security incident happens, have you ever felt like you're wasting a lot of time by clicking on different graphical user interfaces and scanning through multiple log files in order to be able to see what's going on in your infrastructure? I thought to yourself, what if there was a better and more efficient way of achieving the same thing? The answer is there is. If you stick with me, I'm going to show you how. Hi, my name is Faz Siddiqui. I'm a specialist solution architect at Red Hat, focusing on Ansible Automation Platform, an enterprise automation platform for the entire IT organization. And today we're going to see how Ansible Security Automation is helping our customers with responding and remediating the cybersecurity threats and incidents faster and more reliably. And before we jump into the demo, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to what Ansible Security Automation is. If we think about the enterprise security, we can often divide the space into a number of different popular domains, as you can see on this slide. And in order for us to be able to protect this enterprise, we need a number of products and solutions from within each domain to work together effectively. The landscape of these products and solutions looks something like this, with new products emerging and added to this list regularly. Given this large number of tools available to us, we would expect everything to be just fine in the world of enterprise security. But unfortunately, the experience is somehow different. And there are still a number of challenges that we are experiencing within the enterprise security space. The slide you see here is a representative of some of these challenges. The research has shown that in the recent years, the amount of time that it takes to resolve an incident, as well as the severity of the attacks, have increased. And while there is a serious shortage of security expertise in the market, only 5% of the alerts that security teams receive is successfully examined. And there is no time or resources for the remaining 95% of these alerts. But as we just said, we're not suffering from shortage of any tools or technologies. So why these challenges? You see, in order for security specialists to respond and remediate and protect against security threats, there's a need for all these solutions to work together seamlessly. And that's exactly what's currently lacking, the capability to interconnect various tools and technologies. And that is the idea behind Ansible Security Automation. Ansible Security Automation is the expansion of Ansible in the security space. It's all about the use of Ansible as a unified automation language across different security technologies. In general, when we talk about cybersecurity use cases, there are three main categories. We have investigation enrichment, threat hunting, and incident response. And we will see in our demo how Ansible Security Automation is able to help our customers in each of these areas. So from investigation enrichment, which is the way that we can programmatically manipulate logs from our devices, to threat hunting is when we are proactively protecting ourselves, like updating an intrusion detection signature, to incident response, that when something's happened and now we need to, as an example, block an IP address, as we will see in the demo, or block a domain name or a set of credentials, and etc. And we will be able to see how Ansible Security Automation is helping us in each of these use cases. The tools we are using, the solutions that are being used in this demo, is IBM QRadar as our security information and event management system. So a central logging place that we send all our device logs to. We create a set of rules, and these logs are being correlated there, and we'll be able to make a decision on what's going on. So get an awareness about what's going on our entire infrastructure from a central place. We're also using Checkpoint next generation firewalls, and we're using the open source Snort as our IDS IPS. So this is our demo scenario. We have these three people. These are our characters that are representing various teams from an enterprise security. Because if there's a large enterprise that we're talking about, the security teams are often separated and they don't really work together and they don't have a common process between each other. And in our demo, we have these characters representing those teams. And we're going to have a look to see how Ansible Security Automation is going to break those barriers between these teams, integrating and helping bring all our devices together, all our solutions together, and have a seamless way of investigation and remediation. We are going in the demo, we're going to follow Sienna, our SIM admin, and just follow her in a day in her professional life, and see how the events happen and how she's going to be collaborating with the IDS team, in particular Ian, the IDS guy, the IDS expert, or Fred, the firewall guy. Let's have a look at Sienna's daily dashboard that she looks at. So this is the dashboard to IBM QRadar, which is our security information and event management. And this is what Sienna, being the SIM administrator, looks at on a daily basis. So she gets all the logs in here and should need to investigate if something comes up. Now, today, she has been informed about an anomaly that has happened on a application server, on a corporate application, and she's detected some anomaly in there. This is she's been getting from the application. So you can see there's this pop-up in the logs and notifying her that there might be some sort of suspicious activity going on. So when something like that comes up, what Sienna needs to do is to get more information. She needs to get the data from the firewall and the IDS, the intrusion detection and intrusion protection systems that are protecting that particular corporate application. But she doesn't get those logs coming into QRadar on a daily basis. There are a few reasons for that. One of them being we don't want to be sending unnecessary data to QRadar to create noise and unnecessary data that makes the analysis job more difficult. And also often with SIM products, we pay per amount of data that we send to our SIM solution. So we want to only send the data that needs to be examined to this at any given point in time. So now Sienna is dealing with this anomaly and she needs to investigate further, but she needs the data. If we just look at the log sources in here, we can see the log sources are empty. So the logs that she's getting here, they're just health metrics that are being sent automatically in QRadar. No checkpoint firewall and no snort IDS data in here. So Sienna now needs to contact Ian, the IDS guy, and Fred, the firewall expert, and ask them to get the data that she needs so she can investigate further. But Ian and Fred are busy doing their own things. So Ian is facing some sort of an SQL injection attack that he's found out in some of the snort logs, and he needs to deal with that immediately. And Fred has just detected a violation to a policy on one of his checkpoint firewalls. So they're all busy, their teams are busy sorting that out because that's priority number one for her, and Sienna is left on her own. She needs to somehow get this data. So we're going to show how Ansible Security Automation is going to help her get this data she needs and get on with the rest of the investigation. So luckily, the company that Sienna works for has already been using Ansible for a few years in infrastructure and network automation. And recently, the SecOps guys have decided to start implementing Ansible Security Automation in their processes as well. So they have been creating pre-approved playbooks, pre-approved automations, and made them available to their security analysts. And because her company is using Ansible Automation Platform, As a part of that, they have Ansible Tower that they're using as a secure centralized place to keep their automation, and using the role-based access control features of Tower, they make automation available to who needs it based on their rights and based on their needs. So we want to look to see what Sienna has available in terms of getting the logs into QRadar. If we go to the templates section of Ansible Tower, she has a playbook available to her and automation available. So send firewall logs from Checkpoint and from Snort to QRadar. And that's exactly what she needs. I'm going to show you what that playbook involves. Once I click run on this, we wait for this to run, and I'll show you what's involved in that playbook. Just gonna copy the name of this server, Checkpoint server, because if we look in here, that's the Checkpoint Smart Console. If we look at our gateways and servers, we see this is the firewall we're dealing with. So going back to our Ansible Tower, I'm going to run this playbook. And because the SecOps teams has made this playbook available to be used on various occasions, they haven't hard-coded anything in there. So it's asking the customer to enter the name of the firewall that they're looking to get the logs from. So let's just get that name, launch. So we're using the survey features within Ansible Tower, which can pop up, and based on what's going on, we'll ask the user to enter some information for the variables and parameters that we need. If I play next and launch this, now we get this playbook to run, and at the same time, we will see the results of as the playbook is running in here in real time. And once that's running, let's have a look to see. So this is the playbook we're running. We're keeping it, or the SecOps teams is keeping it in a Git repository and making it available in Ansible Tower. This is what the playbook looks like. So you want to send the Checkpoint and the Snort logs to QRadar. This playbook has got two sections, two different plays. One play deals with sending the Snort logs, and the other part for deals with sending Checkpoint logs. The first bit is a Snort. As you can see, we first need to configure a Snort to send this log to a central log system. To do that, we are using a role, include role called IDS-config. So because we're using this role, all the complexity that is involved with dealing with any sort of intrusion detection system is hidden away from us as a user. All we need to do is to install the role, which we have done on our controller already, and provide some value to our parameters here. So we need to tell it that our IDS provider is a Snort, a few other parameters, we're using UDP. And as you can see, as the remote log destination, we're giving it the QRadar IP address. So that's how we're configuring Snort to send its log to QRadar. As the second part of that, now we need to make a log source. If you remember earlier when we looked at QRadar, the log source was empty, and this is specific to QRadar. When we're sending logs to QRadar, we need to have a log source in there in order for QRadar to be ready to receive logs. And this is what we're doing in here. We've already installed the IBM QRadar collection, and from that collection, we're using this module that's creating the log source for us. And the second part of the play is dealing with Checkpoint. So we are configuring Checkpoint. We're sending Checkpoint logs to QRadar again. And what we're doing in here, we're using a role called Log Manager. Again, we don't need to worry about the complexity of this. We just use the role and provide the parameters that we need for that particular role. Again, we're creating a log source and we're running. So this is the playbook. It has run in Ansible Tower. It's been successful. As you can see, it's reporting back some changes in Checkpoint, Snort, and QRadar as we expected. So as well as looking at this real-time output in here, because we're using Ansible Tower, everything will be saved into the Ansible Tower database. So later on, for all auditing or troubleshooting purposes, we can always go back and check who has run what sort of job and what was the outcome of that job later. Now, if we go back to QRadar, as you can see, checkpoint logs have already started coming in. And if I show you the admin part of this, which was dealing with log sources, you can see 2 log sources have been added in here. So without having the expertise in Checkpoint, Snort, or even QRadar, we ran a playbook, and now we've configured it to be ready to get the logs and logs being forwarded. But at the moment, we're not getting any Snort logs yet, because we haven't told the Snort that what's important that we want to get from it. And in order to do that, and also as the second part of the investigation, because now Sienna can go through these firewall logs, she has a better understanding of what's going on. But in order for her to be able to make the final decision as whether this is a real attack or is a false positive or what's the next step, now she needs to make sure this is not an attack that's going on elsewhere within the infrastructure. So now she needs to update the Snort signature in a way that the Snort would monitor the network, and then she'll be able to get a better awareness of what's going on. So now again, she needs to update the signature. So she needs to ask Ian or his team to update the signature on Snort for her. And like we said, they're busy, they can't deal with that. So rather than sending an email or creating a ticket and waiting days and hours for these results to come back to her, she can again run one of the playbooks that SecOp has made available to her. Let's go back and see what she has available in terms of updating Snort rule. And this is what she needs to run now. So if we go in here, the name of that playbook is Web Attack Snort Rule, because that's the anomaly she was detecting. And if we look at that playbook in here, this is what it looks like. So we're using a role, IDS rule, and we're giving it some parameters. So these are very specific to Snort. For the people who are dealing with the Snort on a day-to-day basis, they know this is a common pattern of a Snort rule. So, and we need to be specific with that, because that's what Snort needs in order to create this rule. So we need to update the Snort signature with that. And as you can see, we're going to be putting that rule into this log. So if we look at Snort already, and look at that rule. So that's at the moment that's empty, so there's nothing in there. But now let's go ahead and run this. We launch this, and we expect Snort to have this rule set up now in this file. And once this is updated, then Snort realizes that it needs to send this log back to IBM QRadar. And because we have a rule set up in IBM QRadar, it's going to pop up as anomaly. We just give it a few minutes for the logs to start coming in, or as you can see, they're coming in. It takes QRadar a few seconds to change that to Snort. But as you can see, the logs have started coming in. If we look at Snort, yep, the rule has been added to our rules file. And now we expect to have an offense when we go to our offenses, because we have a rule in QRadar, and we just say raise an offense if this particular thing is matched. So what now Sienna has is an offense that has popped up. She can look into it further, and as it happens, she realizes that there's this denial of service attack is hitting one of their web servers, one of their application servers. And now she's made a decision that this is a real attack and she needs to block that IP address. With that, having the automation at her hand, she would need to again wait for Fred, the firewall guy, and his team to be available and block that IP address for her on the Checkpoint firewalls. But now again, same as the other previous steps, she has a playbook that's been made available to her that she can just use and block that IP address. So if we go to our Checkpoint, So just to show you that this is the policy that we have and is currently accepting that IP address. And we want to show you how we can just run a playbook and block that IP address. And this is the playbook that we're going to help Sienna run. The details of that playbook is here. So this is the block attacker. We are using a module called checkpoint host. We're creating our source IP address and our destination IP address, very checkpoint specific details that if you just refer to documentation, you'll be able to see what it is that you need to use with that. But for people who deal with checkpoint, this is familiar. And we need to make sure we set the action to drop. So let's launch this playbook. And we're expecting, if this runs successfully, we're expecting for the traffic to be dropped and be blocked on our checkpoint firewall in the security policy, because we're creating a security policy in checkpoint using that playbook. Just give it a couple of seconds. Yep, that's running, and that's it. As you can see, that playbook is running, is installing the policy, is blocking the firewall, and is blocked the firewall in here. So what you saw here is an end-to-end investigation to remediation that we have helped a security analyst to perform a lot faster. So rather than delaying her investigation because she has to wait for someone else or other teams for data that she needs, she's just running playbooks, and in a matter of seconds, she gets all the data she needs, and she can perform her investigation and remediation, which was blocking this IP address, in a matter of seconds. Now that we've done everything, another part of the this process is for her to go to this offense, because we blocked the IP address and this offense is no longer relevant. And what she can do is just to close that offense, and we just call it policy violation and close the offense. And now we have set up QRadar to get all the logs. But we need to roll that back because we don't want to be sending unnecessary logs or spending unnecessary resources in QRadar. Again, with a click of a button by running a playbook, we can roll back all the changes and stop the data being sent. So I'll show you what that playbook looks like. This is the rollback. We're dealing with the snort. So we're just going to stop all the logs being sent and deleting the log sources as well. Once that's sent, we will stop getting the logs from a snort and from checkpoint into our IBM QRadar log dashboard. So with that, you've seen how we have helped the customer security analyst perform her steps into investigation and remediation faster. So as you've seen in the demo, responding to security attacks manually is a daunting task. But once we have Ansible security automation, we can automate and integrate different security solutions that can investigate and respond to threats across the entire enterprise in a coordinated and unified way, using a common and open language, which is Ansible in terms of the collection of modules, roles, and playbooks. And with that, I have included a few links in here that you can follow if you'd like to find out more about Ansible security automation, if you want to look at the codes from the collections and the modules that were used in the demo, some links to success stories, and our Facebook and Twitter account in there. And with that, we're going to move to the Q&A part. So let's have a look at some of the questions that we have in the chat. We have one question in here. Are you positioning Ansible security automation to compete with SOAR solutions? So SOAR, for some of you who may not be familiar, is a security orchestration, automation, and remediation product. And the answer to whether we are competing with SOAR products is simply no. We are extending the capabilities of what's offered currently from the automation engine of a lot of the SOAR products out there, but we are certainly not competing. We are complementing the SOAR products. Another question we have here is Ansible security automation limited to IBM QRadar and checkpoint devices? Great question. So IBM QRadar is currently one of the 2 supported security information event management products that we have within Ansible Security Automation. And the other product that we are supporting is Splunk Enterprise Security within our SIEM area. In the area of firewalls, we are supporting Checkpoint. We are also supporting Cisco, F5, and Fortinet devices. But having said that, we are always looking into extending the footprint of Ansible Security Automation into the new products and solutions. And we will be, depending on our customer use cases and also the market-leading products, we are expanding the capabilities of Ansible Security Automation into new security technologies. So there are other questions about the sessions will be uploaded, recorded. The answer is yes, they will be available after this session. I cannot see any other security-related questions. So with that, I'm going to finish this session. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And I'm going to leave and let Ud, my colleague, to run her session on intelligent automation for rail infrastructure. Thank you very much.